Okay, I think we're good.
What's that?
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I'm okay. So my name is Coffee Politics. I mean, obviously, you know my name. You know my name. Like my actual name is Reggie, but I
Yeah.
um I like to go as Coffee Politics on YouTube because I don't know. I mean, I thought it would be kind of generic if I just have my own name as my own YouTube name, right? Um, and so I was like, okay, well, fuck, I like coffee and I like politics. I'm gonna just combine those two. So that's how I got my name. And obviously, I really enjoy politics. I really enjoy debating and all that. Um, so I'm trying to be like a political YouTuber, kind of like pretty much kind of like Destiny, but also kind of like Mr. Girl as well, because I have a lot of hot takes that I like to share. Um, so
Okay.
yeah,
And
um,
what made you want to talk to me today?
yeah. So I mean, I found you very interesting, right? Because especially when I was like watching your stream today, um, it seems like you tend to like form your own ideas. Like you don't try to like you don't necessarily try to fit in and all that. And I've also kind of noticed that it seems like I don't want to say you're like an orbiter or anything, but like it seems like you're part of the Destiny community, but you would still come on his stream to like not necessarily debate him, but like you would always have something to like you'd always have something to talk about, and it was like always contentious, right? It wasn't necessarily like you were agreeing with him a lot. And I've kind of noticed a lot of like the orbiters with Destiny, they're always like, oh, yeah, um, whenever they go on his stream, they always bring up like they always bring up something that they agree with him on, like trans people are crazy, whatever, or like I don't
Well,
know, yeah,
most people in his space are there because they agree with him. He's very good at debating. Um, he's very informed on politics. I think whenever there's like a really big topic, he will go into um like autism mode and just full on research everything. Like with the COVID, that was like extensive research.
yeah,
With Ukraine, Russia, that was extensive research. With transports, I think he also went into really extensive research for that with like the muscle and the cell and stuff like that, whatever that was.
mhm.
Um, so I think for the most part, the people who do orbit him have a level of respect for him. Um, he has gotten that like respect from me, and there are a lot of things that I know that I don't know more than him. But there's another really like respectful, like there are other respectful people in my life that don't agree with Destiny. So I do tend to have like different factors weighing in on that I would weigh for like my opinions. And
Okay,
so he's not like the only voice that I look towards.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, of course, I respect Destiny as well. I mean, like literally, like as you may know, right? Like maybe some people in your audience may not know, but like I'm a really big fan of Destiny. I went to like all his live debates in Texas. So yeah, I really respect his opinion as well. But I've always thought that he definitely deserves some criticisms. I will say, of course, like not like a lot of the criticisms that are like levied against him, like a lot of them are like just BS or like not true, flat out. But like some of them make sense. Of course, this
Say
whole
that
uh-huh.
I was just gonna say for most of listen, I still don't understand what the fucking orbiter is, but for most of the people who are I know labeled as orbiters, I think every single one has something that they are contentious with him for. I
Yeah.
don't think I know of any of them who just like wholesale takes all of his positions.
Mhm. Yeah. So, I mean, what I think about Orbiter is like, somebody basically, it's basically somebody that's, no, that's more than a fan, right? So, I probably would say that I'm more so like a fan because I'm not necessarily like, um, I guess, as popular or as like in the clique of like with other like streamers and all that. And so like if you're basically kind of like a fan, but you gain a lot more popularity and you know your name is really out there, then I guess you're usually like around Destiny's community, then I guess you would be an arbiter in that sense. But I mean, of course, I kind of wish there was like a different name or like a different term of it, because usually people only say arbiter as like a derogatory thing, and I don't necessarily
Yeah,
use that as that.
I kind of just ignore it when it's an insult. People have like thrown it at me as an insult, and I ask them what does that mean, and then they don't even answer. They're just like, you know what it means, and so I just like wave them off.
Yeah. Um, I think what a lot of people think of it as like, oh, you just solely agree with Destiny or something like that, or like you solely agree with some certain individual that's really popular, and you're only, I guess, out there to gain their clout or something like that. I guess that's probably what they mean. But again, I wouldn't necessarily describe you as that. So
Well, thank you.
yeah, but yeah,
I appreciate that.
yeah, I mean, of course, like this whole interview is not going to be necessarily about Destiny. Okay, so I mean, I want to start off a little bit light. So I guess, do you mind telling me your background and ethnicity and all that?
My background with what?
I guess.
Oh, ethnicity. I'm half Dominican, half Italian.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Born in the United States.
Cool. Okay. So I'm guessing you're probably like you're are you from like the New Jersey area or like New York or
Yeah.
okay.
I grew up in New Jersey.
Okay. Are a lot of people there like from it seems like a lot of people from New Jersey are like from Dominican or like it's like a very diverse area, it seems like.
I think Dominican Republic is just like on the East Coast a lot. So the major cities, New York City, I guess you would have some in New Jersey, a lot in South Florida for sure.
Okay. Cool. Um yeah, so I mean, and again, I was watching your stream previously, right? Like before this. And yeah, so I noticed you were reacting to Brittany Simon's content, I guess like her debate with Lav.
Hmm.
And it seems like you had a lot of like contention with Brittany Simon, like, you had a like, lot of critiques and all that. And I was kind of interested like in hearing more of your like, um, what started the beef per se, or I don't know, not necessarily beef, but like I guess like what I guess what are your problems with Brittany Simon and all that? And I think you said something about uh look at my notes. You said that she did something crazy or something like that. Maybe you're oh yeah, like apparently she called you an abuse apologist or something like that, or maybe you're referring to somebody else.
That is not Brittany Simon. That's referring to a redacted individual that I don't want to discuss.
Okay. Yeah, we don't have to talk about that. Because I thought Brittany Simon called you that. I was like, whoa, it doesn't sound like her at all. Okay,
No,
okay.
I've never interacted with Brittany Simon besides watching her content.
Oh, okay. Well, then I guess what are your issues with Brittany Simon? Um,
I just personally don't like her levels system. It looks like a a bad way to cope with having interpersonal struggles in having like interpersonal relationships. Um, and I just have a bad history of being in communities for people or like started by people with personality disorders where it's a lot of toxic behavior that is being um, reinforced and cycled through. It's very difficult to break away from when the people leading the community foster that sort of like negative mentality
mm,
and disguise it as being helpful.
well, okay. Well, maybe I just missed what you're saying. So you said that.
Well, we don't even have to talk about this through the lens of Brittany Simon. I first had this issue with Demon Mama and her community, and Demon Mama being a community that said not to trust doctors, not to um, take medication from doctors, and like sort of just fostering a community of like mentally ill people and advising them to not get help. Um, that is like that is the type of community that I loathe. I've fallen victim to it early on in my 20s, when I was experiencing probably like the worst parts of like my mental health journey. And it's just it's predatory, and it gives you everything that you want. This idea that no doctor can help you, this idea that you can just help yourself, and you are encouraged and rewarded by other people for being miserable.
Okay, well, you said a lot there. I mean, I remember you said that you had a problem with the level systems, right? Um,
Yeah, this
I
way of categorizing people to um, satisfy or to really just work through the fact that you can't see eye to eye with everyone in your life.
yeah.
So
I
you
mean,
have to kind of put them in different categories to
yeah.
let you cope with that.
I mean, okay. So I've seen a lot of people actually have like problems with their level system, and I've just, I've never really necessarily had a problem with it because like, um, I don't know. I mean, like I've always thought, it's kind of common in life for people to like, group people like not necessarily in terms of levels, but like in terms of categories, right? Kind of like what Brittany Simon does, right? Um, and you sure I know like people like the main contention with the level system is that Brittany Simon said that hey, at one point in time she said that level one should kill themselves, right? But then of course she walked that back and she said that she didn't actually mean that and just like I don't know. I kind of would want like I guess like what is your main thing? Like what's your main problem? Other than
Don't think it's healthy to categorize people in this way. I think I think every individual is a complex human being, and nobody likes to be categorized. Nobody likes to believe that they are stuck in one place at one time. Everyone has good days and bad days. So, this idea that you would go from like a level 3 when you are enlightened, like you can't just have like a level 2 day, all of a sudden just changes her entire system to be like, oh, yeah, actually, that can happen. You can just have like a day where you're a level 2, and then the next day you're back to like a level 5. It seems like this system conveniently changes. She's already said that she doesn't really have it set in stone and that it's forever changing. I said changes twice, but it's so obviously a system that is just meant to satisfy her current needs in categorizing people and even categorizing herself in comparison to them. And it's just not it's maybe something that people do. It's not healthy, and it does not foster good relationships or even a good dynamic of being able to view yourself in comparison with others.
okay, well, okay, because I know the way she designs it or whatever is just like okay, so level one she describes it as people who are like they're very toxic people, they're not really helpful, and they're very like destructive to themselves and other people, right? And and I remember Destiny also mentioned this, right? He said that there are certain people that are just like not necessarily worthless human beings, but like almost to that point where like, they're just like toxic to everybody. And I think, Brittany Simon making this level system and saying that, hey, you can strive to be a better person, right? Like, sure, it's silly to say, hey, everybody should try to be a 5 or a 4 or whatever, but like telling those people who are draining other people's lives and like possibly ruining other people's lives, right? Tell them to strive and be better. I feel like I see that as a benefit to her system, right? Or do
Not
you see that?
That's not true. She's already said that if people are level ones, they wouldn't even know that they're level ones. So her preaching wouldn't do anything to change it. Um, so
Okay.
that I'm not sure what to even argue there.
Okay. I mean, yeah, if she does say that, hey, you probably don't even know if you're a level one or not. Like if she does say that,
The
then
thing is, what is the value of a system that is forever changing?
um yeah, I mean it seems like it's not really necessarily valuable, but I still don't see the problem with it. Like sure, yeah, it seems really childish
Okay,
and unnecessary, but
no, the problem with it is adapting and taking on unhealthy ways to view other people in this world. It is unhealthy. And like the way that there will be people who will look um, at at maybe a community that is religious and they follow the Bible. And to think of those people as like less than you is not ideal. That's not how you should look at people. You might be like, oh, these people are sheeps to a fucking book. They believe in a God that there's no proof. I'm more enlightened than them. I am better than them. They are below me. I would categorize them as like level 2. I'm like level 4 because I'm aware of this and that. That's not a good way to look at people. That's not a good way to interact with people. These are ways we use to dismiss, to dehumanize, and to, in a way, put ourselves on a pedestal and remove this need to actually connect with others.
Is that how she categorizes people? She says, hey, if
No,
you're...
I'm saying that this is the effect of having a level system like that.
Okay. Well, I mean, if you ever went to that extent, yeah, I would totally agree with you. Like, I would say that's a little bit unnecessary.
That is the extent that level is. So I use like the Bible and like religious people because I think that's more of a normal way. You said that like a normal way to look at this because her level system, it's her level system, but you said that these are things that we do in our normal day-to-day life. Like we already do stuff like this. We categorize people. There are a lot of maybe atheist or agnostic people who will categorize religious people in this way. It's very dismissive. It fosters more of a divide between people who clearly need religion, want religion, and are probably not aiming to be harmful in their religious aspirations, and people who just feel like they are better than because they're not religious. We would say that this creates a divide in our society, in our country, and doing stuff like this is just bad. It's just not healthy. Most people can't engage with systems and looking down on people like this while having healthy relationships and a healthy outlook with others in society. That's what I'm saying is the problem.
Okay.
And why I don't support this system.
Yeah, and she does say that, hey, if you're a level 5, you're better than like a level 4, and if you're a level 4, you're better
I
than
mean,
level 3, or...
yeah, she'll tell people like a pseudo idea that everyone can be happy at whatever level, right?
Mhm.
But the goal is to get to level 5. So you're going to feel some type of way when she tells you, actually, you've only reached a 3. We got to work more for you to get to a 5.
Okay. I still think that's fine. I don't know. It's just like, if she's saying, hey, you just have to reach the level 4, not necessarily like you can be happy at level 3 or you can be happy at level 2, yada yada.
Okay, and
Like,
what if I tell you I think what is it that she says that like 90% of the population is a level 2 or 3?
yeah, probably something
Like
like that.
even achieving 4 or 5 is like minuscule. Like we would look at like the advice that Andrew Tate gives to people, the red pill takes and like how you can get women, how you can succeed in life. We would look at that and be like, oh man, only like 1% of your audience is going to be able to like achieve the goals that you're setting out for them, for the idealistic standard. This is bad. We're really quick to jump on board with like, hey, that's toxic, that's bad. This is like an MLM like fucking scheme that he's selling to people. But we look at Britney and all of a sudden it's a more emotional, this is just people, this is humans are humans type of message. And it's still a fucking system in which like a very few percent are going to reach this like level 5 that she's advising to others, which will make them just like better people than the lower ones. And everyone's like, oh, come on, just let her be on her corner of the internet. She's not doing a harm to anybody. I think she is. I think she's giving people a really bad way to look at life, in a way that's going to harm the people that they interact with and give a false sense of value to that individual following that system.
Okay. But her herself, she says that not everybody has to be a level 5, or not necessarily not everybody has to be a level 4, right? There's no pressure to be a level 5 or a 4. It's just like more so like, oh, it's probably a better thing. It'll probably be better for you, but you don't have to do it. You can still live a happy life.
Yeah, so here's the thing. It doesn't matter how she sells it. It doesn't matter what level she says you can live your life and be happy. She is selling to people a way to categorize themselves and categorize others, and in a way look at yourself removed from other people.
Okay.
I just don't. Coming from someone who does have BPD, and I see that she has BPD, it just seems like these are these are obvious coping mechanisms in which you use to understand why you are removed from other people or why you disassociate from other people, why you have trouble um, creating and holding on to personal relationships with other people. I've been in therapy for like 10 years now. Okay. I've worked through a lot of this inadvertently. And for me, it just seems like I'm listening to someone who hasn't worked through their shit teach other people how to have unhealthy ways of engaging in like social behavior.
Okay. I guess we can just agree to disagree on that. Um,
Probably.
yeah. Um, do you agree? Okay, so you know how Mr. Girl says that he thinks that Brittany Simon has a cult, right? Like the whole thing is like very culty and all that. Um, would you agree with that, or?
I have no idea. She sells conversations with her, and I think in the beginning it was described as a way to talk to her and to like work through the levels. It has since been painted as something to just have conversations. It seems the more criticism Brittany gets, um, the further away she places herself as somebody who is a guru, who is like telling you how to live your life and shit like that. So I don't know what's working. I don't know if she's becoming more sneaky or if that pushback that Mr. Girl is giving and maybe Lav and others, if that pushback is causing her to knock herself down a few pegs.
Okay. Um, okay. So you know how in the debate that you're watching with Brittany Simon versus Love, there, I guess, and again, I didn't watch the whole debate, but it seems like they were talking about, oh, how OnlyFans can be harmful, and selling your body and all that, it can be very harmful and all that. Um, do you agree with Lev on that? And I mean, do you think that there should be some type of regulations on OnlyFans, or?
So they both have different opinions. I think Brittany is the who can do it, should be able to do it. I think Brittany very much can do it, and she's fine doing it. Lav does have regret in doing it and feels like she wasn't painted an accurate picture of what it would be, and just feels like there are more women than not who probably cannot handle posting to OnlyFans or doing online sex work or even doing actual sex work. And I'm probably more inclined to agree with both of them. I think they're kind of on the same side. They just maybe sometimes don't realize it.
Hmm.
I think most people are on like Lab's side if they do support sex work and they just don't realize it. Uh, Knowing your person, like being able to have realistic expectations of what posting to OnlyFans is probably super important. And I don't think most people have that. Um, they don't have that understanding. They don't have the implications that follow along with it. Maybe ways that they will see their self-esteem go up and down depending on like support and shit like that. And for the ones who can do it, they should absolutely be able to. I think it's wonderful. If you want to fucking post your shit and get paid for it, do you. But for people who think that this is something that it's not, or that it's like an easy ride, or that everyone who posts on OnlyFans is going to end up raking in like $3,000 a month, like we should probably just make sure that you know that that's not going to be the case. And if the only way that you're going to be satisfied with like posting is so long as it's never going to affect you in the future, mentally or like professionally, or that you're going to make enough money to feel good about what you're doing, then you probably shouldn't sign up and do it.
So you think there should be some more education on it, and people should be more aware of the consequences?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. Um, okay, that's interesting because I remember I watched a debate where Lab was on a panel, right, with other people, and she was like, "Oh, we need to raise the age of consent, or not age of consent. We need to raise the age for people to be able to join OnlyFans or whatever." And I was thinking, like, I don't know. I think the age doesn't necessarily matter. Like, I think it's fine for it to be at 18, right? It's just like people need to be aware, like, oh, people need to understand, hey, there's going to be some potential consequences. Somebody else, your future employer probably is going to be able to see this, and um, people should probably be more aware of these stuff.
Yeah. It's like it's a catch 22. So I feel like a lot of people maybe in the industry um understand the weight that is put on them emotionally, like mentally, and they want that education to get out there, but most people don't want to just um vlog the struggles that they are personally having to put that education out there. Um and I don't blame them, right? I think Lav is really unique in the way that she did like flat out come out and say like how she regrets it, um, despite like success that she's had, rarity. And I think it can offend people who aren't feeling like victimized or mentally distraught by posting on OF. But I'm sure there's a lot of others who feel like, fuck, this is me too. But I don't want to say anything because I don't want to like I'm seeing the pushback that she's getting, and I don't want to get that.
Yeah. Um, and just like hearing Lab's thoughts about this and all that, like her coming out, it really reminded me of the whole Mia Khalifa situation, right? I don't know if you, um,
Oh wait, hold on. Can I just want to respond to somebody in chat.
yeah.
25K a month worth of regret. Um I know she's contemplating return, but I just want to say that making a lot of money when you're young doesn't lead to like stability in finances unless you do a good job at saving, investing, or you end up living like a very humble life somewhere. Just so you know, $25,000 is a lot to get in a month, and it's a lot for consistent income, but that shit can blow pretty fucking fast.
Okay. So, yeah. So, anyways, so yeah, me watching Lab come out and all that reminded me of Mia Khalifa. So, like, Mia Khalifa's situation kind of seems similar, right? So she was like I don't know if you know of her, like, or if you know of her
She's
situation.
the one who did the race play, right?
Oh yeah, like, well, what do you mean by that, actually?
Do you know Mia Khalifa? It's
Well,
the one thing that she's fucking famous for.
okay, yeah, yeah, I think so. Okay, okay. But anyway, so basically, she did, yeah, she basically did porn, and then eventually she quit porn because I think she got threatened by like, um, I think it was either her family or like some Muslims, and eventually she ended up actually regretting it and saying, "Oh, Pornhub took advantage of me. These sites took advantage of me. They barely paid me." And it was just a whole bunch of drama because it seemed like she was half lying because they also posted receipts saying they're like, oh, we actually paid you a lot of money, like we paid you like six figures and all that. But regardless, it seemed like she also regretted as well, and or at least it seemed like for me, right? Um, so yeah, so I mean, and again, what are your thoughts on that? And do you think that it should probably be extended to like any type of like online site that promotes sexual content, right? Like there should probably be some more
What should
education
be
on that.
extended?
Education, like basically just like like there should be somebody out, or not necessarily be somebody out there, but there should be some type of mechanism that tells you like, hey, you're probably going to regret this, right? This you're.
So that's
Mhm.
like that's the problem. It's really like it's something that I think people feel like really satisfies the the issue that they see with like complaints being raised about posting on OF or doing porn, and just saying, do you think that there should be education about it? Like, obviously, but talking about the people who actually try to raise their voice and like say something wrong, that they see with it or share their experience, like educating people on the harms of pornography. Like motherfuckers know how bad smoking cigarettes is, and they still smoke. Education isn't going to do very much. It's a nice sentiment to like maybe feel like you're encouraging change. But I think overall, it's not going to deter people.
Okay. Well, then it seems like from the sound of it, there's not really much we can do, right? Or like much anyone could do, right? Other than just coming out and giving out your experience.
Yeah, I think sharing experience is what's going to be the really big part, and making it so that people can share their experiences without feeling like they're under fire, or without feeling like or here's the other part, is being able to share your experience without putting it on other people. So, like the regret that you might feel for posting porn, if you put that shame on another person who doesn't feel it, you're going to find combat. Uh, so, just really figuring out how to share these things without making people feel like they're a victim, or without making people feel like they are weak or vulnerable for expressing their feelings. That's just going to take a long time, I think, with social media and the way that people are really self-preserving.
Okay. Okay. So I guess what you said was kind of interesting, right? But then it kind of makes it more complicated because the way Lab did it was that she basically, she basically just put out her experience on a debate panel, right? Like she's like, because they're arguing about like whether or not OnlyFans should be regulated or whatever, and she was saying, oh, this is my experience and this is why my argument is right. Um, and it seems like the way she expressed her opinion, it, it only led to combat, right? There's no way somebody's gonna like not attack her for her experience, pretty much.
Yeah, there
Um,
there were ways in which Lav shared her story that did make other people who post on OnlyFans and don't have a problem feel like they are somehow like they felt like they needed to defend themselves. They needed to defend their ability to post on OnlyFans. They needed to defend their ability to not be responsible for the direction that like pornography is going and the harm that it has on like other individuals. Uh, we can we can point out an issue without making every participant at fault, because you're gonna have a lot more to fight if you want to take on the porn industry and then every motherfucker who's like creating content thereafter.
yeah, I mean, yeah,
And
definitely
then
agree.
also every motherfucker who's jerking it to it. So that's like a lot of enemies to come to like climb over.
Okay. Um, yeah, those are my only questions on that aspect. I guess jumping back to Destiny, right? So how did y'all met and like it seems like y'all are friends, right? So I mean, how did y'all became friends and all that? And uh, was it
We're
through a
just both
league?
streamers.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I guess how did y'all establish a connection, basically,
Um,
or like how do
Prime
y'all know
time
each other?
open panel.
Oh, okay, okay. Because don't you play League or maybe I'm
Yeah, but
miss.
I've never played League with him.
Okay, because I was thinking like maybe y'all met each other while playing League or something like that.
Nope, doing politics panels on small like Twitch panels.
Okay, okay, cool. Okay. I remember there was this one time where you jumped on. It was like a couple of days ago, right? You jumped on Destiny stream and you're like, oh, he tends to make other females look dumb or something like that, and he needs to bring on more like.
Nope, didn't say
No,
that.
no. Okay. Well, weren't you saying that like he basically needs to bring on like more dumb like male streamers or whatever, or you said something
More
towards that?
he Okay, so a lot of people didn't like that I thought that the TikTok girl that he entertained a conversation with, I felt like he infantilized her a bit by not really engaging with her and just deciding um that she was in over her head despite like the words that she was saying. Um for me, a lot of people, and especially from the chat, they just thought that she was dumb. And the way that the conversation ended was just that she was in over her head. She didn't know what she was doing, and she was just dumb. And there's no point in really like pushing it because he doesn't want to be like a bully or like really get like debate broy on just a normal person. So I said, Okay, that's fine. Um, Probably bring on more dumb men, so it's not just the women who come on that are very unequipped for this. And then to which chat pointed out the fucking viewer call-ins, and I reject the idea that DGGers can qualify as dumb men. Okay, it has to be other content creators, not just the fucking viewers. That's like a cheat code, because then he has an imbalance of dumb men on his streams.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember I did a call in and everybody was like, "Oh, this is the guy that Cherry's talking about." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I need to."
Just ignore them. They
Uh,
they said that to literally every fucking mail caller because they
yeah.
just wanted to correct me.
Yeah, I was like, man, I gotta definitely like bring this up if I ever like interview. Uh, okay, so I guess you don't necessarily think that Destiny tend to. You probably only. Okay, so you only thought that Destiny went easy on that particular like person, right? Like you didn't necessarily think that he tends to go easy on female Twitch streamers or like just like streamers or commentators.
I mean, there's a few times where I felt like he did, but it was understandable.
Yeah,
Um, and this was just a situation which I felt like I really didn't understand. Besides him doing it out of like self-preservation to make sure that he doesn't look too much like he like harasses or something like that, which I don't
yeah,
know. He kind of has like PTSD with people saying, "Oh, your big community is harassing me." And it seemed like she started going down that line, but she still kept a lot of her um a lot of her energy for just disagreeing with him and making it not personal. That I felt like he was probably in the right to at least entertain the things that she was saying, but he didn't even do that. So I just felt like in the conversation, he could have entertained a conversation with her without being like a debate bro combative person. Um, like you can still talk to someone you disagree with, like calmly um, and like challenge the things that they're saying or correct them, tell them where you think that they're wrong, or where you see things differently than they see them. I think he did it very minimally, and a lot of it he just laughed it off and waited until the call was over to to tell stream how like that was pointless. And I just thought it was really disappointing to see as as a woman, because I do know that I'm not perfect like doing debates or conversations or anything like that. And I think for me personally, I would loathe to see that I was treated that way.
yeah,
And I don't know if it like if I'm projecting my own wants onto her. For me, I think my wants here matter more than hers. No offense, but if you are going to do like the content game, the political commentary game, the conversations, the debates, like I would like the bar to be like even. And I don't want to see the bar get dropped down low because someone like that starts to like enter the arena, at which point all of a sudden other people are going to treat me with that like low level of standard. And if I'm saying stuff that you don't agree with, or it seems dumb, or it seems juvenile, or it seems just incoherent, like I would hope someone talks to me and like actually engages with me and doesn't just like smile and is like, "Oh, okay." That would piss me the fuck off.
yeah. I mean, I just
And
think.
I honestly just can't believe how she was not pissed off. I don't know.
Well, I mean, she probably just never really cared that much about Destiny. I mean, she probably also did not like Destiny, and so she probably was expecting something worse anyway. Um, and I think Destiny probably just had low respect for her. I guess since she didn't like him, he was like, okay, fuck it. I'm just gonna like I'm not gonna really treat her with any respect or like she's worthy for a debate or whatever.
No, that's the thing. He didn't not treat with her with respect. He treated her with a lot of respect, with kid gloves, and it, to someone like me, I would take it as disrespectful. But I understand that what he was doing was his way of being very respectful to what he considered was just a normal person who wasn't like ready for this sphere, Whereas I see it as disrespectful, and I see it as wow, the standard for like being a woman in these conversations is gonna fucking go down because no one in chat is just viewing this as a normie person. They're viewing this as a dumb woman.
Okay. Well then, yeah. Okay, then maybe it was more so an issue of like Desi just doesn't want to create any more enemies, and she.
And
Uh huh.
and I also want to specify that it's not like a problem with the chat. This is anyone on the internet who would look at it as a dumb woman. They would look at her as a normal person. That's what it means to like be a woman in this space. You are always viewed through the lens of you are a woman. Anything that you do, it is indicative of like the women in this space.
Yeah, I mean, uh, yeah, I definitely do think that probably a lot of the people that were watching that probably uh, had that view in that conversation. Fuck, I remember I was gonna say something, but I forgot about it. Oh yeah, so I mean, I think that Destiny just doesn't want to create any more enemies, right? Like I think especially like after with the whole Keffel situation and him going back and forth on that one particular like lady, I forgot her name. The conservative that basically tried to get Miss Girl banned, and then she said she had
Oh,
it.
BX Bullet.
Yeah, after that whole situation with that, and he was like, I'm just gonna like stop going hard, or like maybe, maybe he's being like a little bit like sexist. He's just like, oh, I'm gonna stop going hard on like females, whatever. Like I need to start like having people on my team a little bit more, or
Okay.
like.
So as someone who has probably I've thought about women's issues very much. And there is this thing that happens in the workspace, in the workforce for women. They are brought into jobs, affirmative action, if you will. A lot of them just like brought in, and for a skill that is maybe not on par with a man, to like the same position, and the expectations of them are lower as well because of that. And the issue here is when you do just sort of want representation from women and you don't care that they are matching the skill level of the men that are there with them, you are going to lower the standard that you expect for them to reach. And for women who do match the skill of the men there, for women who do and want to compete with the skill of the men there, they are never given the challenges that they need to actually compete with them. So if we're like considering a tech job, you would have generally a situation where maybe women as a whole are given a lot easier tasks, but men are given harder tasks. And while there may be a handful of women who can compete with the men, they are never given the tasks that could make them look as good as the men because the men are getting the more challenging tasks. So
Mhm.
while I understand this concept of, hold on, it's starting to look like I'm going hard on women, or it's starting to look like I'm having all of these issues with women, maybe um, maybe my community is getting misogynistic. It seems like the community on Twitch as a whole is misogynistic. It seems like in politics, people are just fucking misogynistic. And the problem is when you start treating women with kids' gloves, you're not actually fixing the problem. You're lowering the standard and also the level that any woman can achieve to like impress or like the occasion that they can match up to. You lower the level of entry, and then you also lower the level of expectations, and all of a sudden women are not competing with men, and overall it will have a poor outlook on women for that. I don't blame him. It shouldn't be his responsibility to like single-handedly combat misogyny in like the online sphere or like within politics. It's like not on him, especially the level of times that people have tried to cancel him for it. Like BX Bullet is probably the weakest motherfucker because she was the first one when nothing sexist even fucking happened to her to cry sexism. This is why I have to deal with this. This is why I have to be the loudest advocate, because if someone else does it, they're going to be called sexist. They're going to, like, everyone is really willing to play their minority card in order to get ahead in some type of fucking way. Not many people want to get there the hard way, the way where they fucking work for it, and the way that's like a little humiliating, which is you fuck up and then you learn from it. No, people don't want to fuck up. They want to be like, oh, the only reason I look bad is because you're a misogynist, or the only reason I look bad is because you hate black people. Only reason I look bad is because you're transphobic. That's what people do. And so it's really hard to ever combat this. It's really hard to ever treat everyone equally when there are so many people who are rewarded for using what makes them different, like against you.
Okay. I
Sorry for
remember,
the rant.
no, you're good. I remember, and yeah, I do actually agree with you, right? Of course, I'd have to look more so in I would have to look more in the situation because I actually didn't really watch the interview. I'm just like kind of taking in what you're telling me and all that, and kind of trying to form my opinion off of that. But somebody in your chat said that basically, would he have treated would he have treated the same person that you interviewed, right, the TikTok lady? Would he have treated them the same way if it was a guy, right? Do you think that would have been the case, or do you think he would have probably like been harder on her?
So, so this is where the conversation with Linus, I think, was like just super five head, and he got to something that I didn't even connect, but it made complete sense when he was saying it. The way that a woman will display that she is maybe timid or insecure or like lacking confidence is very different from when a man does it. Arguably, I think if we want to find a comparison to like a comparison to the TikTok girl, I think I would point to Haas. I would point to Infrared. The
Yeah,
way that that guy in his insecurity, he tries to overmasculate himself. He pretends like he's taller than he is. He starts taking off his shirt, being his chest, and he's incoherent. He's dumb. He's not making any fucking sense. I think this is like the male way of exhibiting that emotion, and in that emotion, in this man who probably does not have the emotional maturity to deal with this and is probably going to have a lot of issues when he logs off and shit like that, Destiny will still engage with him. Will still correct every point. Will sit there and like have a fucking 10-hour stream if he needs to. There isn't as much threat from that side though. Someone like Haas is not going to he's not going to play like the emotional man card because it's just not in the norm for a guy to do that. It's
yeah,
not like societally acceptable, where it is very much acceptable and very much praised for if you are a woman to cry sexism, if you are black to cry racism, if you're trans to cry transphobia, and so on and so forth.
yeah. That's actually kind of funny that you brought up House because I was actually going to ask you a question about him, right? So, so you know how you brought up like how he tries to act really macho online and tries to act like he's like fucking like gorilla chat or whatever, right? Like whatever he tries to portray
Yeah.
himself. Uh, did you notice that like when like on the like when we did the debate, like when we went to the live debate on Dallas, right, DFW? Did you notice how he was like totally different? Like he was like he came off as super
Absolutely.
nice, super chill, like literally the opposite of how he
He was a
portrays himself
fanboy.
online. Yeah, I
He was a
literally
fanboy. He was asking Destiny for advice. He wanted to know how to like build his own fucking harem. He was acting like Destiny was his like his guru, his role
yeah
model.
yeah he was like super nice, and I was like, what the fuck? And it just I noticed that he was totally different, like in real life, and like how he actually portrays himself online.
He, but the thing is, he wasn't super nice to everyone. He was super nice to
Oh
Destiny,
yeah, that's right. That's a good point because
like specifically.
he did keep the same attitude towards Dylan Bergs, but
Mhm.
towards Destiny he was like he was fanboying as you said. And I remember like I would constantly hear him say, bro, he would say this. He would say, bro, if I ever saw like one of your fans, if I ever see a DGer, I'm gonna fight them. They're gonna be so scared. Yada 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 yada. so I came up to him, right, because he was streaming and all that, right, and I was like, hey, so I'm a DGGer. You said, that you said that you're gonna like try to beat me up, whatever, right? Like, so what's up? Like, I'm a DGGer, yada yada. And he was like, oh, okay, okay. He was like, so, like, he was asking me like, oh, do you tend to like be on his like Reddit, or like do you tend to be on his Discord, yada yada. He was asking me like all these questions, and I was like, yeah, yeah. So I was like, I think I don't remember exactly what I told him, but I was like, hey, so do you hate me, whatever, or do you dislike me? And he was like, no, you're cool, man. Destiny fans are okay. And I'm like, and I didn't want to be combative because I didn't want to be like, oh, that's not what you say online. But it's just funny, like seeing how he was just like he was he was just acting different. Like,
You could I it's really easy meeting him in person to tell that he's like an insecure dude. He really just it looked like he was seeking Destiny's approval, Destiny's advice, almost like a father figure in a way. It was very strange because Destiny didn't really change energy. He was kind of a jerk sometimes. He was making digs. He was like, "Okay, yeah, show me what was it called? That lift that he does. Something curl. The Spartan curl."
oh yeah, yeah, the
And
made up
he had
thing.
that motherfucker doing Spartan curls with like a bottle of orange juice, like laughing at him. And Haas is just like, oh, you see, it's just like this, just like this. Like, he didn't
Yeah,
take that any type of way, but the fucking hint of like sarcasm or or I don't know, making a joke his way from Dylan Burns set him the fuck off. And I think it's because he does in a way I think deep down he has like a respect for Destiny that I don't think he can shake.
yeah. Also, like, not a lot of people mention this, but Dylan Burns is actually, especially at the time, right? He was like pretty young. Like, he was like 20 years old. Like, I was surprised to like actually know that, right?
Yeah, he was
Uh,
20.
yeah. So I was like, okay, maybe that could have also played an aspect where Hawes is much older than Dylan Burns, and so he was just treating Dylan Burns as like a little kid. Like, maybe that played into that. Um,
Oh, yeah, maybe. I think at the time they were doing like challenge each other to a fight and I think Haas was just I think he felt secure in himself cuz he's like wide at the top as he would
yeah.
say. Um but then when he sees Dylan in real life, like Dylan's not like a lanky dude, okay? I think he could match him on mass and then he also saw that Dylan I think somebody said Dylan had taken boxing for like 1 year before, and so he was like, no, no, you have too much experience. This isn't fair. This isn't fair. And all of a sudden, he didn't want to take a gamble. I think he just didn't want to take a gamble when he saw Dylan in real life.
Yeah, and I think also what played into that is that they actually had a debate, like one-on-one debate with each other, and Dylan Burst was kind of egging him on a little bit. So maybe that's also what kind of antagonized him. Of course, I
Yeah,
did.
the problem is Destiny can egg him on, and he's completely fine. I think there's something about Dylan he just doesn't fucking like,
Uh, Destiny was egging him on
or
only a little
the
bit. Like,
lack of respect.
I was kind of pushing Destiny to egg him on because I remember, like the whole, because you know how Destiny took a picture with Dylan, not Dylan Burns, but he took a picture with Haas because he was trying to prove his height. He was actually like I remember like he actually didn't want to do that. Like, I actually had to push him to like actually do the height check because he was like, oh, I don't want to embarrass him. Like, he's so nice, yada yada.
That's fake humble. But yeah,
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, like, I kind of had to egg him on a little bit because, he's just like, Haas talked a lot of shit. And I would hate for him to come out of it and just be like, oh, Destiny was being a bitch. I was actually taller than him.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And now they just call it "Stop the Tilt" or something like that.
yeah, because
Now they claim that the camera was tilted.
he said I currently tilt the camera in Destiny's favor. And he first of all, he also called me a Dylan Burns fan for whatever reason. And he said, yeah, like, for whatever reason, I tilted camera for him, like I guess to show that he was shorter, but that doesn't actually make sense because in the actual video, right, because the video is on YouTube. Like, I literally told him like, hey, is this okay? Like, the angle, is the angle okay, right? And he was like, yeah, no, you're recording perfectly. So I don't know why he's complaining about like
Because he's got a safe face to his community. He's got the whole alpha male that he tries to project.
yeah, yeah, it sounds
Toxic masculinity.
yeah, it sounds really like exhausting and sad because I don't know. I mean, like I would think why not just act real and just be like, hey, I may not be the tallest guy, whatever, but like I may be smart, the smartest, guy, or I'm gonna try to be the smartest guy in communism. I mean, I don't necessarily think he's like the smartest guy either way, but still, like, you know,
Hmm.
why does it matter if you're, why does it matter if you look like you're the strongest, like biggest macho guy? Like, I don't know if it's because he's been hanging out with, fuck, I'm really bad with names, but I don't know if he's been hanging out with, what's his
Hinkle
name? No, no, the other guy, the
or Zerka?
tall, yeah, Zerka. I don't know if he's been hanging out with Zerka a lot, and Zerka's trying to make him like really macho or whatever, but I just don't get it.
Oh, maybe. Zerka definitely has antagonized him to take on more fights than I think he would have.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I do think he's increasing the toxicity, right? Because I have noticed that whenever Haas doesn't want to like push onto something or he doesn't want to like argue with somebody, he's like, Zerka's like, oh, don't be a bitch, don't be a bitch, don't be a pussy, like do this and this. Like he does egg things on, and I see what you're saying.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um,
Is there anything else?
yeah, I got a couple more questions. I don't know how long you got.
Um, well, it depends how much longer do you want to go?
I could go like 30, like up to 45 minutes more.
Let's cap it at 30
Okay.
because I do have to finish this VOD.
Okay. Uh, sure, I'm definitely fine with that. I guess I wanted to get your thoughts on the interview you did with Mr. Girl, right? Because I remember you brought up some interesting criticisms, right? Like he's very hypocritical a lot of times, and you even mentioned it in the Twitch stream you were doing today, right? You're like, oh, he says he tries to be like an empathetic person, or he tries to promote, being more empathetic, but he tends to be very unempathetic, right? And I remember one of your examples that you brought up was how he called his girlfriend. He basically called his girlfriend a demon, or something to the sort, right? And that's a very unempathetic thing to do if you're trying to promote.
Mm, I don't take the calling her a demon thing very serious.
Yeah, but I mean, like still, like like you still called him out on that. I don't know if you still agree with that, or like if you still think he's
I
being a
did I
hypocrite.
call him out for calling her a demon?
Well, not necessarily calling. Okay, I'm saying like you called him out for being not necessarily you called him out for being unempathetic, right? Because he tries to promote being empathetic, but he's not really empathetic himself.
Okay. So, I think I know what you're talking about with my issue with empathy is very different than anything that I said about his conversation with Shaylin. I didn't see a lack of empathy there. Um, that was just a different situation. But I don't find that he lacks empathy. I think he picks and chooses when he wants to care about like understanding someone else's situation. Whereas I believe when he first entered, his goal was I'm going to empathize with all beliefs on like an issue and hear them all out and just like let people take them in themselves. I'm not going to moralize things because I feel like people should just be able to hear both sides of a situation and just really try to understand people who think different than them. Whereas if you look at him now, he very much, I think he's capable of empathizing with people who see things different than him, but he does want the way that he views things to be prioritized. And he does want, now he wants to moralize, to use moral arguments to make sure that the side that he wants represented is like squashing the other side. It's not so much understanding someone who thinks different than you anymore. And I'm not saying that that's a good or a bad thing, but I do need him to just acknowledge that it's a fucking change in like in his whole MO.
Yeah. Um, Yeah, I mean, I definitely do think
One
he.
second, I'm gonna grab my water, but I can hear you.
Yeah, I mean, I do definitely think he changed a lot. And honestly, to be honest, I feel like live streaming changed him a lot, right? Like it, I'm being like very like hyperbolic, but I think live streaming like almost killed him in sort, right? Because I remember in the beginning he was really good, right? He like I know like his prime moment was interviewing Richard Spencer because his whole interview with Richard Spencer was exactly what he said he thrives to be, right? He was very empathetic towards him, despite him being a Nazi or an ex-Nazi, and he did try to like understand what he was saying and his point of view and all that. But then later on, right, as months went on, right, and as more and more interviews, like the more interviews he's done, the more debates he's done, he's became worse and worse and worse. And I think he's became a lot more emotional, and it's been a lot more harder for him to like not really like moralize everything and try to like you know and maybe also it might be his ego as well, but like it's been making him very more it's been making him it's been making him like it's been making it a lot harder for him to like be empathetic towards people and to be charitable towards people, and yeah, he just definitely changed a lot.
Um, so here's how I'm receiving it, and my hopes in watching his content moving forward. If he takes anything that I say serious, or if we have another conversation on it in the future, I think he started out doing something that I feel like really rang true to Destiny as something that Destiny aims to do, which is just understand people different than him, probably challenge them and see if they can be amenable to the way that he views things, and hopefully in their conversation and their back and forth, win their audience over. But more so, just like really humanizing other people and being able to understand them, type of thing. Um, I think they probably really vibed on that. And I think Mr. Girl was more so, um, I think he was even less combative than Destiny would be in a conversation with another person. And it's probably why he
Yeah,
went more towards doing interviews than actual like debates. And it was good content. Like he's great at what he does. Um, but he made a change that I think is so like I think it's so valuable if I can just get him to pull it out of himself, not just to acknowledge that he made a change, but to acknowledge why he made a change, where he no longer just wants to hear both sides of an issue. That
yeah,
maybe through emotion, through his personal feelings, or through something that he's seeing happen with him, his community, or his friends, streamer friends, whatever it is that is causing him to feel like, hold on, I need to moralize this. I am getting more emotional about these issues. This is putting a weight on me. I do feel like I need to say something. I don't care if it's soy to fucking care. I am going to do it. I like that. I like this new fucking Mr. Girl arc. But I'm not going to give a fuck about it, and I'm not going to trust it until he can explain the fucking change. Because sometimes it comes off like Mr. Girl is just contrarian and is just doing the opposite of what other people are doing, so that he is creating like conversation, or just like more entertaining discourse. I'm hoping it's not that. I'm hoping he actually has just had like a emotional aha sort of like epiphany, because I think in watching Destiny's content and just trying to understand him as a human being, Destiny doesn't really have like hard he has emotions, but he's not very emotionally moved by other people. So to see someone maybe do similar things to him, have similar like discourse conversation to him, right? They're talking about BLM, they're talking about gender, trans issues, meta conversations, emotions, ADHD. They're having similar conversations, but in different ways. It doesn't affect Destiny, but he is definitely not the norm. And if Mr. Girl is just maybe a little more emotionally normal, I really want to understand what has made him change.
yeah. I just think he just became again like live streaming ruined him, like all the negativity and he just simply became more emotional. And I think that, um,
But that becoming
well,
more, so I think this is
well,
where
well,
we're going to
to
disagree because becoming more emotional is not ruined and it's not a bad thing.
well, yeah, yeah. Sorry. The way I phrased it, I'm making myself sound like a psychopath. I'm saying like he became too emotional, and okay, emotion is really good. And I, again, when I watched his past interviews, right, like his first couple of interviews, I thought they were perfect, right, because he did bring more emotion into things, and yeah, like he did bring more emotion into things, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is like this is what I want, and I'm gonna keep watching, right? But it just like I thought like there was a point where he just became a little bit too much emotion, like he became too emotional, and I think that can ruin things, right? Like too much emotion could definitely like bring down the stream and all that, and to really validate.
Yes, yes, and no. Yes and no, because we see a lot of change um, in what's like societally acceptable, right? I just explained to you how being a woman and saying I'm being treated as like sexist, like I'm someone is being sexist towards me. It's reciprocated and like taken very seriously, very well, and you will get favor for that. Um, there is a chance that being emotional in these conversations can have positive outcomes in a way that just being emotionless and just a sponge that can absorb all types of fucking like abuse maybe doesn't lead to any positive outcomes. Like we don't know. Which is why I'm not so quick to say that Mr. Girl is having less successful conversations or is on a less successful path just because it is different than Destiny's now. Um, and I wonder if we know that Destiny is like emotionally not the norm, if Mr. Girl is more emotionally the norm, I wonder what kind of like effect it's had on his mental health trying to be um so emotionless in these conversations.
Yeah.
I'm super curious.
Yeah. By the way, I just noticed you got rated. Do you want to like?
I did. Thank you so much, Stardust. Thank you, thank you.
I mean, do you want to like?
We are, yeah, we're having a conversation here. This is Coffee Politics. He is a newer YouTuber, part of the DGG community, and mostly on YouTube. That he sticks to the YouTube chat, um, and we're asking questions, and right now talking about Mr. Girl.
Did you notice I stick to the
F's in
YouTube
chat
chat, or
for Mr. Girl and his channels.
did you notice that I tend to stick into the YouTube chat, or?
Oh no, you told me that when we had met. You said you're
Yeah.
not on the DGG website. You stick to YouTube.
Yeah, yeah, sure. I'm surprised you actually remember that because I forgot totally me saying that. But
I have a woman's brain. I remember all details so
true.
that I can use them against you one day.
Uh oh yeah. So okay. So I remember you said that you don't know necessarily um like he's became worse to the point where like he's actually ruining his conversations. But I will say like I watch Mr. Girl a lot, and the past two conversations that he had, the past two interviews he had. Um, with people, right? Like literally, like I think like one of the guys he had an interview with, he literally left because he was just like he was Mr. Girl was just out of control. Um, he just it just got so insane that one of the guys left. And in the other interview, I think this is like the most like recent interview he had. Um, like the person
Oh, I
also,
didn't watch that one. That's with like the historian.
yeah,
Yeah, I haven't gotten to watch that yet.
yeah, he literally just like flat out left because I think basically Mr. Girl cursed at him, and he was like, "Oh, dude, can you not do that? Because can you at least apologize towards me?" And Mr. Girl was like, "Oh no, I'm not going to apologize to you. Like I need to express my emotion towards you." And he just like left the stream. And then the other one, right? Yeah, I think it was like with a black dude. His most recent conversation, I think the black dude left, and then he came back, right? Because he was like the I couldn't handle the conversation. Sorry, man. Yada yada. Right. So I think that those are like two instances where like Mr. Girl just couldn't really control himself, right? And he didn't really like he didn't want to take the time to think, oh, maybe I need to like calm down my ego a little bit and maybe try to like focus on more so like keeping the interview straight and trying to like listen to my interview like my interviewee, right? Um, and I think that's kind of proof that maybe and I'm not necessarily saying that he's just gotten. I'm not saying like that's just proof that everything is just going downstream with him, but like I just think that's proof that his like interviews have gotten a little bit worse at the very least.
Well, I haven't watched it, so I'm not really sure what made him stand his ground or live in his emotions, so I probably shouldn't comment on it.
Okay, cool. And then for lastly, I want to talk to you about colorism, right? Because
Okay.
think you've mentioned it like a couple of times with Destiny. So I guess
Hmm.
like, can you briefly talk about like where do you stand on colorism, right? Like, do you think that
That
like
colorism bad, Reggie? What the fuck? Where do you think I stand
oh no
on
no
it?
no no no. I'm saying like more so like because a lot of light skinned people, they'll defend colorism by saying that hey, and I'm not necessarily saying that they're wrong, but they'll say that like oh, people don't necessarily treat us better. We're all the same, yada yada. There's no like actual like basically they don't they don't admit that or they don't agree that light skinned people get treated better than dark skinned people, right? Like they say, oh, it doesn't necessarily matter. All that matters really is that white people see us as black, right? And that's what I mean more so like where do you stand on all that conversation and all
Okay,
that?
so I just want you to know that the way that you asked that question already lets me know where you stand on it.
Yeah, sorry,
You
I put a
didn't
little
do a
bit.
very good job at hiding it.
Yeah.
Um, and I would just say that people who are racist are not going to favor me more than you. They
Okay.
are going to, um, if they are not overtly racist, they are going to have microaggressions towards both of us. They're going to discriminate towards both of us. When I go on Cozy TV, they don't treat me any different from any other black person. I get called a black bitch. I get told to go back to Africa. I never even fucking been to Africa. Um, I get called a black whore. This idea that I'm treated with favor because I'm lighter skinned than someone more dark skinned is it's honestly just a way to I don't know, it's like I'm the easiest thing to target.
Yeah, and I mean I'm not necessarily talking about you per se because I don't actually know your background, right? But
Well,
I'm
you
just
no, even if you talk about light skinned people, you are talking about me. So just understand, even if you bring up a hypothetical, I will take it personal. Just
okay.
that's the case of it. You could put a new name on me, you still fucking talking about me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess do you agree that light skinned people get treated better in the black community? Or I
You
guess
think black Okay, so when I say that only racist people, and it could be racist white people or it could be racist black people, only racist people think that like the lighter your skin, um that some or the tone of your skin affects the way that people view you. This is just colorist thinking. Um Within the black community, it shouldn't matter the shade of your skin
okay.
for you to just belong and be a black person. And if people treat you differently because of the shade of your skin, like I don't think it's just a one-sided thing. There are people who are rude to dark colored people. There are people who are rude to light colored people. Um, what do we have? We have like Cardi B who calls like dark colored women who disagree with her on Twitter roaches. Like that's colorist. You're being hella disrespectful. You have black people who will call light skinned people emotional and just like imply that because they're lighter skinned they're like more emotional people. Like all of this is bad. It happens to everybody. Um I don't understand why we have to say one person has it worse than the other.
Okay. Well, okay. So I guess let's back up, right? So, do you agree that? Okay, so you would probably agree that black people in America, like they get they in general, right? Like on the average, they get treated worse than white people, right? Or at the very least, like people of color.
They will get discriminated by racist people.
Yeah. And yeah, then maybe I should just use the word discriminated, right? So, like, would you say that a lot of black men they tend to like it's from okay, I guess from my experience, I've always noticed that black guys they always would try to prefer other light skinned women compared to like dark skinned women, and they would say that they would say that they'll say that dark skinned women are uglier and like they want to mix they want a mixed woman or like they want like some like more mixed kids and or like even with the scenario where like the black mom right they if they have a dark skinned child right and they have a mixed child right I've heard a lot of experiences where like the mixed child will always get picked they always get treated better than the dark skinned child right um, there's countless like stories of that. I mean, of course, it's really hard to really quantify this because there's no actual concrete data, right? Because
No, and so this is just experiences and these are stories, and it's very often that people who do have the bias of being colorist and they are darker skinned and they view and they've always been it's always been reinforced to them that lighter skin is more ideal, right? That's been enforced in your head. So you have this idea that you've lived with your entire life that light skinned people have it easier. Whereas I can share my light skin experience. My family, my Dominican family, they're all dark skinned, they're all racist, they're all colorist, and for my mom wanted for her daughter to have lighter skin, and she got with an Italian dude, and I am lighter skin, and I had to grow up listening to people refer to me as more beautiful than my mom because my skin was lighter. And my mom resenting me for that, and my mom not being a very good mother because then she had some sort of feeling about my appearance in comparison to hers. I had to deal with people treating her poorly. I had to deal with black people thinking that I wasn't black enough because I was light skinned. I had to deal with white people thinking that I was just a fucking like a black person and not like them because I didn't actually fit in there either. So like you maybe have this experience that hey, white lighter skin is just far more beautiful, and for you it feels like they must have had it easier in their life. I'm trying to explain to you, and I try to explain this to other people as well. It's not an easier life; they are just different struggles, and it's super minimizing of other people's experiences when you decide for them how easy their life was based on like the color of their skin because you've heard stereotypes.
mm, yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of hard to like figure out. Like, it's really hard to like really say, oh, one group of people in a race, right? Like, yeah, one group of people in a race have it easier than the other group in the same race, right? Like, it's kind of weird, right? Like, it's kind of weird to say that. Um, but I guess like from my point of view, I think it's okay to say, oh, one group of people in the race have it easier than the other group, but at the same time, they may also suffer a similar amount of discrimination from white people
So
or like just like
So I'm going to
basically
challenge that because you're just going to bring up discrimination, and we already know racist people going to be racist. They're not going to look at me as being better than you. They're going to look at me as other, and they're
yeah,
not going to like me for it. That's what racism is.
I agree with you.
But then I have to deal with a black community that they you bond together understanding that people are racist against you, and you have this community that you're not an other in. But me in that community, I'm still an other. I don't actually have a community anywhere, and I'm viewed as ideal. In a like I'm an ideal standard, but for some reason I'm ostracized from my own community. So it's colorism within the black community is just a wonderful way of dark skinned black people acting like light skinned black people are like simultaneously part of their community and also should stay the fuck out of their community. You're like at the same time you say you're just like us, but also you're fucking different. So while you have maybe a brethren, a community, a mutual respect, and a way that you guys don't check your experiences with each other, you very much do that to light-skinned individuals like myself. And despite maybe the information that I give you, you'll just probably over and over and over explain to me why you just know that that our lived experiences are just easier. You just know it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess what you said is kind of true. But I mean, I also do understand what you're saying is that, uh, it is hard whenever people try to other you, right? And try to say like, oh, you're not really part of our group. And yet you're also getting discriminated by, you're also getting discriminated by the cops, or you're getting discriminated by other white people or like white nationalists. They still call you the N word regardless at the end of the day. But then also black people don't accept you. Like I do kind of like, I kind of understand that feeling, and that it's probably like it's probably super frustrating, right? Um,
So I would say it's very similar. um, like take a progressive debater, right? You would think the things that Destiny argues for, right? We'll use Destiny as an example. The things that he argues for, you would say this is a guy who is super progressive and he supports trans rights. He should have the support of like almost every trans community, right?
mhm.
But for some reason he's ostracized out of many communities for just being different on like one issue. There's something that they point out that is different from the rest of them, and for that reason they kick him out, they try to ban him, they try to deplatform him, they view him as fucking evil. I feel like within the black community, because my skin is lighter, then I'm just viewed as different, and I'm constantly pushed down. I'm constantly told that my black experience isn't as severe, it's not as valid, that I wouldn't understand, and like get the fuck out of here. I don't care if you respect us, if you love us, I don't care if you want to be here. You can't be one of us. That's often my experience with, and it's not just every black person. This is specifically with racist black people, with colorist black people. Those are the only ones who make this like an important thing that they need me to fucking swallow.
Yeah, yeah, I do agree with that. Like that, that's a little bit fucked up. If you you know, if you try to demean like a light skinned black person that way and say like, oh, you're not really black, you haven't experienced what we experienced, so like, just like somebody coming up to you and saying that to you, like I feel like it's a little bit messed up. I can understand. I understand what you're saying. And I mean, have you actually gotten that experience through like the online political sphere, right? Like, I guess like, uh, I,
Experience in real life.
okay. Because I was trying to figure out like, oh, are you talking about like Joe Lewis or something, or like maybe you debated somebody?
Those people never come right out and say it,
Yeah.
so I don't bother pinpointing that on them.
Okay.
The racism and the colorism that I get in the online community is a lot more subtle.
Yeah. And and that's like one thing about the super like black lefties, right? They always want to find a way to like exclude somebody, right? Um, and I know like a really big thing is like calling somebody an Uncle Tom, right? It's like an easy way of saying like, you're not really with us. Like despite most black people actually being very conservative, and like for example, like I know like I remember like I did some research. Apparently, like half of black people like are actually pro-abortion, or not pro-abortion, but they're anti-abortion, right? But
Mhm.
regardless, right? Like despite in general, black people tend to be more conservative. Uh, if you try to like, if you're as an online
Most
black
black
person,
families are religious.
yeah, if you as an online black person try to express your more conservative beliefs, you're just outright called an Uncle Tom, and they might even call you a coon, which is like funny because like it's really a racial slur.
It's a slur, yeah.
Yeah.
And they'll defend the use of that word. I don't know if you saw it. I did have a debate recently with a guy who just a black radicalist, and he it took him a while to admit that he didn't consider coon a slur. Um, he considered it to something that black people use to communicate to other black people that this black person is like not one of us. And for me, I was just like,
That's
that's a
exactly,
slur.
yeah.
You are degrading that person because they don't think like you. You're removing their blackness because they don't fucking think like you. It's very it's frustrating. I probably have more patience in those conversations because of my own lived experiences.
Yeah, and I'm like, if you're gonna like call another black person a slur for like not even agreeing with you, like at the very least, why not even just like make up your own slur? Like, why would you have to use like a common slur that was used in the '60s and the '50s to like uh, degrade other black people, right? Like why would you have to pick that word, right? Like, I'm like, okay, well, why not just, like if you're gonna go that far, like why not just like, I don't know, call somebody like the N word with a hard R or something like that? Like, why not just like go full force? But I don't know. It's kind of dumb, right? Like I don't get it.
Um, it's actually very acceptable for black people to be racist today, and they know. And the black people who are racist, they know that.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean,
It
like,
sucks.
yeah. And I'm like, I don't know. Like
I
maybe it's
mean,
like a
it's what I was talking about earlier. If you're BX Bullet, you know you can get away with it if you call the person a fucking sexist. If you're Keffels, you know you can get away with it if you call the person transphobic. And if you're some of these black creators online, you know you can get away with it if you call them racist. This is like bad behavior that we've rewarded because people feel so fucking they feel so strongly that they don't want these things to happen to others. We don't like bullying. We don't like when people are sexist. We don't like when they're racist. We don't like when they're transphobic. We want people to be okay. So much to the point that we allow the bullies, the racists, the sexists to use that to be able
yeah,
to
exactly.
make others miserable.
It's just reverse bullying at the end of the day.
Yeah. But if you are if you're a person who cares, it's too easy to manipulate you into just um just listening and taking action when Keffel says someone's being transphobic.
Yeah,
Like it's too easy to win you over there. You need a lot of information to know that you're being played.
yeah. And I mean, like usually, like again, like when because I've had my experiences debating Joe Lewis and like being on the all black everything panel, right? And being called an Uncle Tom and a coon, right? Right? Like I've kind of
Did
like
they call you that?
there was this one guy that literally just called me like, yeah, you're like an Uncle Tom, whatever. And I'm like, whatever. Like I just kind of like owned up to it. I was like, okay, whatever. If you want to call me an Uncle Tom, it's fine. Like all I really care at the end of the day is like if somebody debates my ideas and um, actually tries to challenge me other than like calling me a name. So
Hmm.
um,
So the problem is you can choose to not care, and I think that's probably good for your mental health, but there's a lot of other creators that will write you off if they see you get called something like that and not really like push back, because it's like whenever it's one black person's word over another black person, it's like whoever's the loudest and whoever makes the other person submit is the one who fucking wins. And that's why when that guy Endless and Shark had that debate and Demon Mama reviewed it, she just ended up agreeing with the racist black guy because he stayed there the whole time and was just hounding her. Um, it's unfortunate. And I think that's probably why their message spreads a lot further than just like a normal black person's experience, because they are very aggressive and shameless in getting like the white sympathy. Whereas like a normal black person is just like, bruh, I like this is what I think, and I'm not trying to like fucking shame you into like validating me. It's just my experience.
can you actually tell me more about the endless shark thing? Like I have no clue about the whole scenario.
Oh, I don't want to re-summarize that.
Okay.
Shark's got like the debate up or something like that, and I think Demon Mama's review is up too. That's like 3 hours of content or something.
Okay, but is endless like a white person or?
No, Endless is a black guy. I think he's
Okay.
33. He's a
Oh,
male
oh yeah,
black
yeah,
man.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I know that. Okay, he's a guy that, uh, he talks shit about Dylan Burrs behind his back, and he was like,
Yes, he's that guy.
okay,
He's
yeah,
also like quote tweeted me several times just to be racist to me, and I think like three other black creators.
yeah. I mean, he kind of reminds me of Keffels, right? Where like he's trying to like bully people to get gain clout, pretty much, and tries to
Yeah,
run back to his like minority status. And so like, oh, people are mean, people are hate me because they're
I
racist, or
wouldn't
whatever.
I wouldn't even like put him in the same category as Keffels though, because like the worldview that he's pushing is just like so dangerous. Like Keffels is just saying that she stands for trans rights, and I don't think there's anything wrong with trans rights. I support trans rights, but this guy is like, uh, I think he pushes for Afrofuturism, which is like black separatism, and he wants to make sure that dark-skinned black people have babies, and he thinks that like um, biracial babies is upholding white supremacy. Like there's so much hate in his fucking message. Uh, I would consider him worse and thankfully less successful than Keffels.
It kind of reminds me of Umar Johnson. I don't know if you know who that is.
I the name is vaguely familiar.
Yeah, he's like the guy that says like, oh, if you're basically having like if you're basically with a white woman, you're upholding white supremacy, and there should be no interracial marriage. He's just like a whole like black separatist. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know. It's kind of sad though, right? Like,
hmm it
yeah,
is.
yeah.
It's sad. It's frustrating. I don't really know. I'm just doing what I can. When I see the content, I'll react to it. I give my input. I preach my love who you want to love and have kids with who you want to have kids with message.
Okay. Um,
Is there anything else?
I think that's it. I mean, I don't want to extend this too far or whatever or too long, but yeah, I mean,
Maybe after you watch the Endless and Shark debate and stuff like that, we can have another convo.
oh, okay, cool. Yeah, sure, definitely. Uh,
All right.
yeah, thanks for having me on.
Do you want to shout out one more time?
Yeah, actually, let me actually. You fine if I post the link to my YouTube channel on
Yeah,
your?
sure. Spam it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, guys. I'm Coffee Politics on YouTube. Right now I've been rarely streaming, but I post a lot of like interesting content, right? Like my recent video is like why suicide may be okay, right? So that's like some really spicy stuff right there. Go take a look at it. I talk about Rickful. Um, I'm trying to get into more debates with people, uh, getting more panels and all that. So yeah, come support me and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for having me on.
Nice. Thank you for coming on. It was a nice conversation.
All right,
You have a good night.
are you too?